What's up guys, Michael here. In this video, we're going to discuss whether or not housing prices will collapse in 2023. So before I get into it, please click the subscribe button down below. And to realize this, it will not drop in 2023. The reason why is because inflation is still sky high and interest rates are not going down anytime soon. So what you have to know is the function of supply and demand. Those are the two main two. And another video explains it really clearly by Clear Value Tax, how he explains why, and he goes more in detail what's the federal government doing. But doing my own research and relating back to all the topics he had covered, it makes sense. Because first of all, houses fluctuate from place to place, meaning is the state of California will have different home prices compared to, let's say, Texas. Texas is cheaper and California is more expensive. Then you got to look at the people who are living there. Basically, population. The more people you have, then the more houses you need for those people to stay in. And if the population's a lot smaller, or the land is a lot larger in this case, then you need a lot less houses. So when you look at that factor, right now they're saying house prices are decreasing in most major media, which is kind of ironic. At the same time, yes, it is dropping, but it's not dropping to the point where you see pre-pandemic levels. Now, if people want to see houses drop below, like what happened in 2008, a lot of people say it's going to happen, but a lot of people who know the market and see that main media makes a lot of BS, that's not going to happen because it's missing a bunch of key factors. The main key factor is if you look at supply and demand, so the current buyer situation, that is decreasing. Great, you have supply and demand. So that's your demand side, your buyer, and you have the supply side, your seller. So demand side is dropping because the inflation rate is going up and at the same time the government is raising the interest rate. So that's forcefully suppressing it. That's not really solving the problem. As Clear Value Tax said from Brian, he then mentioned that another way to decrease inflation is to increase productivity. But in this case, most of the time, no one ever does it because they never put laws or basically any funding in place and there's not enough incentives for people to do it. So I'll get back into that, which is you look at the seller side. The seller side, before pre-pandemic, it's pretty much on even. We're pretty much balanced. But at the same time is the seller side is not increasing. That is a key signal that if there's more people selling houses, then if they can't sell their houses, think about it. Most people are not going to wait. They're there to make money. If you have a house in a market that's sitting there, it doesn't look good. You think about it, they got to pay property tax. They got to pay all the fees for the home. So if it sits there, those people who own that home are losing money. They're not using there to live. For example, in 2008, you got a lot of people are flipping homes and a lot of people want to sell their homes. And while a lot of people want to sell their homes, if they don't sell it, then like I mentioned before, you got property tax, you got all the bills you have to pay, and that makes them lose money. So they're there to make money. So they'll drop the price. And when they drop the price, then everyone else start doing it because they're trying to get offload a home really quickly. So they go buying another one. So do I see that case that's happening currently in 2023? No, it's not going to happen because the buyer side is being forcefully suppressed. If it's forcefully suppressed, it's not answering the other part of the equation. Look at the supplier side. The supplier side, still pretty stagnant. It's not going up and it's not really going down too much. It'll fluctuate from month to month. And he also mentions from Clear Value that it's based on seasonality, which I agree with him. I'm doing real estate for 2 years now and pretty new to it after looking into it and giving myself a clear, broad mind and instead of looking out a well, you look out everything around. It makes sense because you notice from season to season, people have buying methods. Meaning is buying preferences really depends on the season too. For example, maybe winter, sometimes a lot of people want to buy homes for a new year, but maybe summer, when it's warmer, people like to go outside. But sometimes if it gets too hot, let's say if in California, if the temperature goes over triple digits, like let's say in Celsius, that's like over 35, or in Fahrenheit, it gets close to 100 or upper 90s, that people would not like to go out. If it's the same applies to winter. If it's too cold, a lot of people maybe don't want to take a look at houses. So whether or not the housing market can crash in 2023, that most likely will not happen because right now the federal government is still trying to fight the inflation by raising interest rates, and they're doing a horrible job in it. If they want to really fight it, then you got to increase productivity, which this also relates to a whole new topic that I'll talk about in the future. So if you want the quick and dirty answer, right now, I think the seller market, it's not really going to increase or decrease. It'll have fluctuations from time to time and seasonality, But based on what's going right now, interest rates are still going to go up. Inflation, it's slowly going down, not enough to really meet whatever they're on track, the federal government, which is 2%, because they try to celebrate when it went down, but it wasn't enough if you look at the broader picture. Now, when will it ever hit something like 2008? Only time will tell, because no one will know. Suddenly, a bunch of sellers will come in, or maybe a bunch of sellers decide to stay stagnant, which it currently is right now. But my personal opinion, I think they're gonna reach equilibrium down to next year. Meaning is there'll be the same amount of sellers with the same buying power as the buyers. Meaning is no one's having a leverage over each other. Now, the key signs to see how a housing market will do is to look at both sides of the equation, supply and demand. So right now, if there's less buyers and there's more sellers, then you'll lead to something like 2008. And during the pandemic level, there is the same amount of sellers, which doesn't really fluctuate, but the buyers suddenly increase. So that you get something like pre-pandemic levels. And there's also other factors like the government coming trying to suppress it by adding interest rates. Yeah, the buyers will still decrease, but if the buyer demand still stays high, even increase interest rates, then the house's value will still go up. So there's a really great saying by Warren Buffett. When you see a lot of people going into the market, everyone's buying, that is when you should run. When you see a lot of people are trying to avoid the market because it's crashing, that's the time you should go in. So it's very interesting when he mentions that. It's basically do the opposite what majority of population says, because if you think about it, a lot of mainstream media make news on impulse, or maybe they have something in the background that we all don't know. They purposely try to keep people uninformed. So that's why I think you guys should subscribe down below and click the like button, because smaller medias are becoming more transparent than major medias. There's a reason why a lot of people now are going to people like us, small little YouTubers, who basically look at everything in a more open and clear value and try to be more honest to people. For example, Clear Value Tax, you look at Graham stuff, and you look at other YouTubers that are really small versus, let's say, major corporations like CNN, Fox News, Yahoo News. When you see what they put in there and the amount of people they bring in, that's where they're able to influence the population. And once people they get fed up with it, they go look for other third-party sources. So that's it I have for this update. I hope you guys enjoy. Please click the subscribe button down below, and I'll see you guys next time.